Welcome back. After a short week off, we are back with another edition of Express Talk, Episode 6. And for this week, I am joined by Danny Hardcore Hundman from the Wrestling Happy Hour podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Hey, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good, man. It's Saturday. It's only noon here in Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm thinking about cracking a cold one. Would that be an issue?
Not at all.
All right. So what we doing today? What's game plan? Let's talk some wrestling. We got a big pay-per-view, huh, on Sunday?
Yeah. Even if half the audience is going to be empty, it's still a big pay-per-view.
Right, yeah. They're pumping these things out, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, content.
I know, we're always preaching that too. WWE Network's just changing the game. What big matches are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, first I would just... I got knocked off the ball by the Bleacher Report having an ad pop up and having the audio come in from the ad, so now that that's out of the way...
Yeah, you're alright. I'm gonna pick two matches, and they'll probably be the Intercontinental and the women's title match. Okay. So who you got in the Miz Ziggler?
Miz keeps it.
Miz keeps.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Dolph. But it's a retirement match, isn't it?
I think it's one of those cases that, well, I have heard that Dolph's going to get repackaged and be gone for a few months. I've heard that Dolph may end up in the office as an agent. So I don't really know what to expect from this match, but I think either way, Dolph's going to be gone for a few months.
Yeah. And it's probably time, too. I mean, I've never been a huge Dolph fan or anything, but it's almost getting to the point now where the whole, IWC complaining about him being held down, it's so blatant now. So a good, I always say on our podcast, on the Wrestling Happy Hour, that time away is the best you can do for a wrestler if they're starting to get dull.
Very true, very true. Because, what was something else? When they miss you, that's when you know that it's time to come back, or when they forget that you're gone, or something like that.
Well, it's like Cena was gone a little bit there.
Yeah.
Before, and then he's starting to get the cheers now, which I think he should have got for a while now. But you know how the fans are these days.
I agree. What
was the other match you said? The women's match.
The women's match, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy to watch it, to be honest. I got to go with my girl Becky Lynch, though.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But Alexa's been...
I couldn't have an Ireland tattoo and not go for her, right?
That's true. But Alexa's been amazing since she came up.
Yeah, that's what Big John on our show was talking about this week. She's getting really good.
Yeah. Talent that you didn't know existed.
Right? I'm a big fan of Carmella, I'll be honest. I just, I like the way she works the heel gimmick.
I agree.
And she ain't too bad to look at. I kind of like that type of stuff.
I agree with that, too. Now, speaking of Alexa Bliss, with how well she's been doing, do you think that's going to improve the possibility of Murphy coming up?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean...
Because if I'm correct, they're dating.
They're kind of doing their own thing now, don't you?
Well, I just think that Alexa could help Murphy get the call.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if Murphy goes back right back down, it could be like a, like a Rico and Jackie Gata thing, where not Rico and Jackie, where the woman's more over than the man. Let's put it that way.
Okay. Shout out to Rico, though. We met him, Big John and I went to WrestleMania 20. We were 20 years old. He was 21. Got in a car, drove across from Illinois to New York City, and we saw him out on the down in Times Square, and he had two like beautiful girls on his arms, and we're like, Rico, and it turns out it was his wife and daughter, so that was kind of our little Rico claim to fame. But yeah, that's a good point about kind of doing that style of a rub.
Yeah, over by association.
Right. I'm really looking forward to the Bray Wyatt Orton, though. I think Bray probably gonna get a W here.
I think he should too. I definitely think it's time to move past Randy.
Right, and Randy, it's kind of the new era thing with Bray, so why not? And I know a lot of people talk about Bray's pay-per-view record and all that, but I'm always kind of an advocate of saying, you know what, like when Bray gets in the ring, I don't even think about what his record is. He kind of transpires through all that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It does. I agree. And there's a reason why they don't push his record, but they push Charlotte's.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now you get the ball. Which match are you really looking forward to?
Well, besides that one, the Orton and Wyatt, I would, the most one, I guess the main event, obviously. I'm a big AJ Styles mark, so I'd like to see him go through those guys. Interested to see about Nikki Bella and Carmelo too, though, because I don't know how that's going to go. That was the one I couldn't decide on how it would go. But AJ, I think he goes over just because the fact that it's a triple threat, and with a triple threat you can kind of script it to where it's not going to necessarily make Dean or Cena look weak if they lose. You can kind of have the screwy ending. So
yeah.
I think AJ definitely goes over there. They give him too much of a push not to make it end this quick.
Very true, very true. And I will also plug to this, which I will mention in further depth on Sunday when I do the pay-per-view predictions, that John Cena is rumored to be going away again to film season 2 of American Grid. So, with that being said, he's definitely not going to win, and I don't see them putting the belt back on Dean.
Yeah, I've always thought Dean was kind of a Band-Aid when Roman got suspended. Like, I loved seeing it and everything, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think it was a long-term planned thing. I think it was reactive as opposed to proactive, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I completely agree.
And plus, you mentioned that with Cena going, that kind of goes back to that Nikki Bella Carmella question of who's going to win that, because Nikki's it's got to be almost time for her to be up. She's
good point.
With John taking a lot of time off, they might want to go do their own thing. They got the new reality show now, so they could be set into stardom. Brie just announced she's pregnant, so twin sisters probably acting like so we'll see.
Yeah, good point. So now flip the coin. Which match aren't you looking forward to?
Probably gonna have to say Heath Slater and Rhino versus the Usos, just because the fact I want to see the Usos win and just kind of move past this. Let Heath do his thing, let Rhino, do whatever. But I'm not really anxious to see as far as the in-ring goes for that. Usos are gonna have to carry that one, I think. And then, I don't know, Baron Corbin Swagger, I'm not enjoyed about either, but it's a pretty good card when I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I agree. It's a pretty solid card. I still think the audience isn't going to be there, but it might be a little bit more because Cena's on the card.
Why do you say that? What makes you say that? Just because football season and all kinds of other stuff, or you think it's bad?
The crowd, the audience was half empty at the last SmackDown event.
Okay, so just based on that, you think it's... Now, do you think that goes back to the brand split? Because I'm not a fan of the brand split, never have been.
No, I think it goes back to having 2 pay-per-views a month.
Which, if there wasn't a brand split, there wouldn't be 2 pay-per-views a month. Plus, it's watered-down talent on each one.
Yeah, but we'll get into that.
Alright, I'm getting ahead of myself.
And I would agree with Baron Corbin and Jack Swagger, but I also like the idea of seeing Jack, but I think that Baron needs to win more. But this isn't a prediction show, but
sure.
I mean, I will be honest, I'm not really looking forward to Nikki and Carmella because I think they've had enough with each other on TV that the feud could have ended on TV.
Sure.
And it's just, a filler.
Will be a little bit shorter this week, and that's what you pay the $9.99 for, right?
So now we're gonna mix things up, and instead of going in order, we'll jump to the 2 pay-per-view a month bullet point on the format, and go back and. I mean, like I mentioned, I think that Nikki and Carmella could have, capped off on the show, and if they didn't have 2 pay-per-views a month, then that would have happened.
Exactly, it goes back to the watered down. That's what I think. The rosters are watered down.
Yeah.
Because you're splitting them up. There should be more crossover. I just knew, to me, because same thing that happened with the brand split last time was I got 3-4 weeks, maybe 2 pay-per-views, I don't know, pushing it, that I was excited about the brand split. And then I was like, oh, why isn't so-and-so on the show? Oh, wait, there's not even that, inkling that his music could hit, because it's just not happening. He's on the other show. So that's what I miss.
Well, I mean, I will say that they made it work with 1 pay-per-view a month in the previous incarnation of the split. I mean, I could understand, okay, now they have the network, but also less pay-per-views, better ratings. Meaning, right. Because you have better matches on the TV.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So...
Because it makes me... So, I missed a couple Raw and SmackDowns ago because it was there's just so much content being pumped out that it almost is turning me off. And it's that point in the year where wrestling fans kind of hit their... I mean, for some of us, that off-season feel till it's WrestleMania season.
Mm-hmm.
Because we go to every WrestleMania, so it's after that you kind of get burnt in those following months until it starts leading up. So this is when it should be hitting about Survivor Series. It's just not right now for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You ever get to any of the WrestleManias?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you gotta get to those, brother.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
It's a little too rich for my blood.
Gotta save up all year, that's what we do.
Yeah. I mean, I think that eventually, that if anything changes with the split, that it should be the 2 pay-per-views a month go away, and it goes back to 1 Raw, 1 SmackDown, 1 Raw, 1 SmackDown, both brands, 1 Raw, 1 Smack, so on and so forth.
So you have the 60-day build as opposed to the...
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And is that what they did before, you said, right?
Yeah, because, for example, Backlash would be Raw, Judgment Day would be SmackDown. I mean, that's a bad example because either way you have WrestleMania recaps, but also you have longer on SmackDown to build up to Judgment Day, so it makes more sense that not every match is going to be a WrestleMania rematch.
Yeah, that is a good idea. And plus they need that with the rosters being slimmer. You need to build the characters more. I would agree with that 60-day pay-per-view.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we move to the circus, and I call it the circus because who the heck knows what is actually going on with the sale of TNA wrestling.
I thought it was because the clowns were in the news, brother.
I mean, if you want to talk about
what's going on with TNA, you tell me.
If you want to talk about clowns, then we could talk about Crazy Steve, but...
Hey-o.
But...
I was going to dress up as Doink the Clown this year. Is that in bad taste?
It might be.
Come on, put you on the spot. You're going to tell me if I'm wearing Doink or not this year, brother.
Well, to hover over the points, basically TNA's heavily in debt. Heavily in debt. And they need a new they need new infusion of money, new ownership, and there's been rumors of Sinclair Broadcasting, a mystery buyer, Billy Corgan, or WWE purchasing the company.
So are they really pushing this mystery buyer as mystery buyer?
Well,
They don't have any speculation on who it is?
I've only heard about the mystery buyer once, and
Okay.
it was pushed as a mystery buyer.
By Dave Meltzer, probably? No, I'm just kidding.
Who knows?
Yeah, I think, the library, is that official? Has the library been bought by WWE at this point, as of recording? The TNA library?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm not sure either. But if that's a go, then did you see the headline today about the tiered subscriptions to the WWE Network?
I did.
They're talking... Huh?
I did, yes.
Okay, so if they're going to buy the library, then TNA can come over there. Or feed them money or something.
Well, I think that's a very... that might be giving us confirmation that WWE did buy the TNA library, that they're adding the TNA library to the WWE Network.
Okay.
But how I think it would work with Ring of Honor, and I know people are factoring in Progress too, because Progress is supposed to be a part of it. The one thing I'll say about Progress is WWE and Progress have a working agreement.
Okay.
That's because they had... that's where they got Shinsuke Nakamura footage from.
Gotcha, okay.
As far as Ring of Honor goes, I think how it will work is they have Austin Aries, they have Bryan Danielson, they have Cesaro, they have so many former Ring of Honor talents that they won't buy Ring of Honor. They'll buy the footage of the talent that they have.
Okay.
To air old Samoa Joe matches and old Cesaro matches and old Daniel Bryan matches.
It's a great point.
You know,
now
that
you can make the montage videos even that much better. 'Cause
Exactly.
They probably got that library for next to nothing, I'd imagine, being that they're so in debt and so in need of money.
well,
So yeah, I haven't heard that point. That's a good one. That's definitely what's going down.
yeah. Well, to add to the story, Dixie Carter doesn't want to sell the Vince for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Sell the company to Vince. But with all things considered, and the fact that Eric Bischoff actually mentioned this, I think it was Eric Bischoff who mentioned this in his podcast, that he talked about the rumor, and most people like Eric and Jim Ross and Jericho, you know, the podcasters, don't talk about rumors unless there's some truth to it.
Sure. They don't need to. Their name's Eric Bischoff.
Exactly. And right now it seems like Billy Corgan's keeping the company. But which makes sense because of the fact that, you know, people would say, oh, why not just start a new company? It's because you might be getting TNA and losing the library, but you still got Pop TV. You still got the UK TV deal and the other international TV deals, so why would you start from scratch? Then you'll end up like Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah. Pop TV, though, fuck, man. I don't even get that channel. It's frustrating. I have to go out of my way to get TNA, to watch TNA.
Yeah, that's why most people don't.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not even following up on it, and we have the Wrestling Happy Hour podcast, so it's like, if even we can't do it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just think they would, if they could just keep taking nibbles from Vince McMahon, they'll be alright.
Well, it's like, I think Eric Bischoff said it the best, and, you know, people may have their opinions of him, but he does have some good ideas that...
Absolutely, I'm a Nitro guy.
that no matter how much you try and push that TNA stands for something else, advertisers won't buy that.
Right.
So you need to change the name and rebrand the company, which is something I've been saying for years, that TNA is damaged goods.
It's a good point because you're right. Some executive in New York City in some office, he's going to hear pro wrestling and think trailer trash, and then see that it's called TNA tits and ass. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, and that's why...
The problem is it's there, it's what it is, and it's like...
Yeah.
They could get the other wrestling fans that aren't watching it like me if it was in front of my face. They just need to get it in front of my face.
That's true. That's true. But it's also... At this point, their ownership stake is such a clusterfuck, because Dixie owns 70% of the company. I think Billy owns 20-something%, and Aerolux owns a percentage. I think it's like 20% also. And the Fight Network also owns a percentage of the company. And they own the TNA acronym. TNA doesn't even own their acronym anymore.
Really?
The Fight Network owns the acronym.
Have they always, or did they buy that? Or
they bought it.
Recent transaction from TNA then?
Probably within the last year or two.
That adds a whole new spin to the whole WWE, because I don't know what their relationship would be with Fight Network. I'm sure Billy Corgan they could have cordial conversations with, but, a whole nother network like that.
Well, I'm sure Vince could, I'm sure Vince could, offer him a cool $1 million and they'll be good.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. 500.
Stay in the game, though.
500,000.
Right? Jump change to them.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's... As far as TNA goes, I think that they should do what Eric wanted to do with WCW, and then shut it down for a couple months, and then bring it back with a big event, relaunch the company completely, get a new home, do this, do that, and just start over. You'll still have Pop TV, you'll still have the TV deals, which is what Eric was trying to do when he was trying to buy WCW. But start over.
Look, I'm a big advocate of having an off season. I think WWE should even have an off season. I mean, I almost take my own. I step away from the product for a little bit just to get back into it. I think that taking a couple months off would be the biggest benefit of it. It's like I just mentioned earlier in the show about individual wrestlers doing that, Cena leaving or whoever leaving for a while and coming back.
Yeah. Well, that's the lost art of freelancing, because that used to be like Bruiser Brody's specialty or Abdullah the Butcher's specialty back in the day, where they would only stay in the territory for a certain amount of time before leaving, and then they would come back.
Oh yeah. That was the big benefit of the territory, was so-and-so's coming from out of town, so Ric Flair can put him over, type thing.
But that's like the question of what I never understood. Why couldn't TNA and Ring of Honor work together and send each other talent? Or Ring of Honor work with independent talent and independent companies to do that?
Well, I think they do a little bit, don't they? I mean, like the Dreamwave Wrestling, I know they get guys from ROH, and ROH contracts are a lot looser than WWE, so there's a little bit of independent giveaway between the two, I think.
No, but I mean, like, sending him there and not having him work for the main company. Just giving him, like, like they were a freelancer.
So swap off seasons more or less.
Pretty much, like you trade. I'll give you this person for that person. Like World Class did that all the time with Portland. The Portland territory and World Class territories swap talent all the time.
And I think that's probably what the brand split's trying to do.
Yeah, give us a little bit of a break from seeing certain guys for a lot.
I think it's just a time thing with me personally, with my frustration. I keep going back to the brand split. I do this on our show a lot on the Wrestling Happy Hour, but it's just a lot.
That's true.
A lot to follow.
Well, speaking of a lot, Cody Rhodes and Brandy Rhodes are officially in TNA.
How about that?
I don't know how, because I don't know where TNA got the money if they're in debt.
Yeah, but there's a lot of money. I mean, if they need to... there's a difference between having a lot of money and then having a lot of business money. I think they can hide it and shit like that when they say they're in debt. It's like Donald Trump going bankrupt however many times, but we won't go down that road.
Well, yeah, let's keep the WWE Hall of Fame out of this.
Yeah, right. I think it's cool. I wish I had more access to TNA, and I really should. Like Chris Platt, our host at Wrestling Happy Hour podcast, is he's all about TNA, and I want to get into it. But so throwing Brandy Rhodes in there, because she never wrestled before, did she? She was just...
Apparently, from what I've heard, she worked down in the Performance Center.
Okay.
But they never let her in the ring.
So they just put her as the hand or whatever.
Pretty much, yeah. But I also don't think that they have exclusive contracts to TNA, because I don't know how many people actually do have exclusive contracts to TNA.
Right, because they let them all work the indies.
And to any, high TNA mark, because I know there's a lot of TNA marks out there that may be offended or may not watch this show. Well, by now, if TNA marks still watch anything I put out, then God bless them. We're not ragging on TNA, it's the truth, because that's how it should be. You should allow your talent to work elsewhere. I mean, I can understand why you don't, but if you're in the shape that TNA's in, there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. We're talking about the business side of things.
Yeah, it's budgetary constraint.
Product I enjoy.
It's more budgetary constraints. It's cheaper to have talent not work exclusive for you because you have to pay them more.
Right.
Yeah. Well, now the question is, do you think Cody debuted too soon from when Damian debuted, or do you think that that's like they're two polar opposites of each other, like they don't have to do with each other?
Oh, I think it's just a good 1-2 punch. I don't think I would have... I mean, if we could switch time around a little, I think it would have been better to have Cody appear first, but I don't think timeline-wise that was even possible. Just because he's the bigger bang. I think having them together closer, though, is better than having them far apart. This is like the lifeblood time, man. They're bleeding out.
Yeah.
You need to bring the doctors in. Don't save for that expensive doctor up in Minnesota in 3 months or whatever when you can, hey, we need to keep you alive now. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't think so. I don't think it was too close together. Do you?
I mean, at first I did, but then I started to think that if Cody's going to be pushed at the main event level and Damian's going to stay, Aaron Rex is going to stay in the mid-card, then that's alright. Because you need depth is a good thing.
And that hot ticket. I mean, that's what made WCW. WCW is getting WWE talent.
Yeah, but WCW also had, talent that they built around that never went to Vince first. They didn't...
Very little.
Well, they had Dallas, and then they had Booker T, and then they had, most of their tag team to their undercard, pretty much.
Right, but not the main event, not the people on the cover of the magazines and the lunch pails. Well,
to be fair, Goldberg and Diamond Dallas and Sting and Flair had their fair share of merchandising. But
NWO bringing in the WWE guys and nobody knowing was what, really got things going.
That's true.
So that Damian Sandow and Cody feel of we got a couple of the big boys, from WWE. So,
well, Cody Rhodes, to be fair, yes. Damian Sandow, meh.
Alright, fair enough. That's your opinion.
Yeah. Well, now we skip ahead past the last bullet for obvious reasons. And we jump to the Russo spot. Now, for any new viewers, the Russo spot is basically I give the guest the opportunity to change anything about wrestling that they would want to, whether it's a booking style, whether it's particular gimmicks, or any stigma that they think is there, much like Vince Russo changed booking in the Attitude Era with Crash TV. So, the court is yours.
So I'm walking into that court, or into that office, that round table, and the very first line of business is I'm cutting Raw to 2 hours. Okay?
Okay.
And I'm taking the brand split and throwing it out the window, and I'm doing SmackDown. I'm taking the SmackDown name out. I'm making Tuesday nights a live show on USA, all women's division, 100% women's division. I'm having Raw, one roster with all the big names for 2 hours, like it used to be. And I'm buying TNA. I'm buying, or however, not necessarily the companies, I'm buying the rights to air live new footage of TNA and ROH, and I'm adding that to the $14.99 tier on WWE Network. Those would be the big things that I would do to shake things up.
I kind of had a feeling you were going back to the brand split, though.
Right, yeah. But I think it's fair, though. It gives the Tuesday night show, they could name it something more feminine, I guess, or whatever, to new viewers to tune in and just test it out. I mean, they're testing everything else out. They have the money to test things out. I think that's maybe why they main evented Raw this week.
That's true. That's true.
Because that's like what they did with Trish and Lita when that happened, so that started it. So try that out. So I tried that out on SmackDown, okay? And then Raw being 2 hours is a lot easier to do. The difference between SmackDown and Raw right now, SmackDown feels so quick, and it's almost done out of nowhere. And then the fact that you can get all your wrestling you want, I mean, as far as the top indies go, you got ROH and TNA, access to that by paying $14.99 a month. So those are things I'd try and do to switch it up. I will say, though, I'm not really one that really gets upset with the product ever. I always kind of enjoy wrestling. You know what I mean? I don't get too bummed out when certain storylines don't go certain ways. So I'm happy with things the way they're going for the most part right now. But if I had to change anything, it'd be those.
That's great choices. That's great choices.
So if you're Vince McMahon, am I hired or what?
I mean, a year from now, probably. Right now, probably not.
Because it's close to Mania?
It's too soon.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But come, April. Middle of April.
Possibly.
It's got to be, you're right, though, the timing as far as within the wrestling year goes, it would be tough this year.
Yeah. I think it would be too soon to, toss away the brand split. Cutting down Raw? No, you could do that now.
Now, is that just me? Like, me and the guys on our show all agree that 3 hours is too long. Is that, do you feel that?
Yeah. I haven't watched a full episode of Raw in months.
Right. I can't. But if it's 2 hours, I'd absolutely sit through it.
Yeah. I agree completely.
So I do like the SmackDown because of that.
Yeah, totally.
And I am being able to watch it because of that. But.
Well, I will be honest, I don't watch SmackDown normally because I can't get used to it being on Tuesdays and being live.
Yeah, it shakes things up, but I also hadn't watched SmackDown in probably like 5 years before that, unless I was at the show. We went to the Halloween show out here. Me and my friend dressed up as Macho Man Ultimate Warrior. It was the Halloween SmackDown last year, because I got an NWO tattoo on my arm, so I always flash that.
Wow. that's
You'll see that. Go to our Twitter, is at Danny WHH Podcast. You'll see I got a bunch of pictures of boys wearing that NWO tat. So if you want to check that out, at Danny WHH Podcast.
That's pretty cool. So now we move forward and jump to the next part of the show where I give the guest the ball. I mean, it seems like I give the guest the ball pretty much the entire show, but this is the guest spot where the guest can spotlight an indie talent or an indie company or both to basically I enjoy giving the spotlight to the indies because I feel like people don't do that enough as much as they should. Yeah,
man, there's some great indie feds. I'm originally from Illinois, and live out here in Arizona, and I got to see Party Hard Wrestling's out here, and PHX Wrestling and Arizona Wrestling Federation, all super talents coming out, so I'm starting to try and get out to those shows. But my favorite, where my heart is, where I'm from, Illinois, right in the middle of Illinois, LaSalle, Illinois, Dreamwave Wrestling. So I'm going to pick them as the indie wrestling company of the week for sure. I got a lot of good memories going to those shows.
That's sweet. From what I've heard, they're a very good company.
Yeah, super fun. It's at this Knights at Columbus Hall. It's in the upstairs. Looks like an old like firehouse kind of thing for like firemen's stand or whatever. And yeah, I mean they're not doing any high frog splash off the top because the ceiling's real short. But the entrances are sweet. They do the lights and they got big pictures everywhere. Some great wrestlers go through there. Everyone from the Beck family to, I remember Adam Rose and Ryan Phoenix, who I think's Waylon Beck there now. But my favorite was always Prince Mustafa Ali, who's been in the Cruiserweight Championship on the network.
And
you familiar with him?
I've heard of him, yeah. From the Cruiserweight thing.
Round, but,
yeah.
Super cool dude. Got to hang out with him a couple times after the shows. They'd always have an after party at the 9th Street pub. Get all fuckered up with the boys. But he was always a super cool dude. So I'm really pulling for him to come up. But he's their champ right now, so that's kind of cool. He's Dreamwave champion right now.
Well, shout out to Prince Mustafa Ali and Dreamwave Wrestling as the indie companies of the week, the indie company and the obscure wrestler of the week. And I also want to put out a props or give notice to All Action Wrestling up in Berwyn, Illinois, AAW.
Nice.
Because they were. I used to refer to them as wrestling's best kept secret, but now they're a little bit more known. And I just want to give them the shout out because they had the tournament, I want to say last night, dedicated to their former owner, Jim Lynam, who passed away. So, shout out to them. From what I've heard, it was a good show. So
yeah, very cool. That's cool. Yeah, shout out to them. Berwyn, Illinois, too, another Illinois small town. Shout
out to AAW. Now to, raise the, actually, let's jump back for a second. Outside of, mainstream wrestling, do you guys pay attention? Like, do you pay attention to, like, companies other than WWE?
It's hard, like we mentioned, with all the content we try and keep up on with WWE as of late. Other than the indies, I've kind of started to, I had a chance to meet Trevin Adams of the Wrestling Network, I think it's called. He does like Evolve, so I'm trying to kind of keep an eye on them. But there's one, brother, I wanted to talk about. There's one tonight, isn't there? Isn't Kurt Angle wrestling? Did I see that?
Possibly.
It might be on the. Let me find out what that is. But yeah, no, I mean it's mainly the mainstream stuff for us. What about you?
I mean, I would say it's a mix because I don't really, outside of WWE, I don't really. I mean, dirt sheet wise, I pay attention to everything, but
sure.
Watching, I don't really pay attention to much outside of WWE. Pretty much because I can't, because of money and access. But
exactly, and it's just a lot of time too.
Exactly.
Okay, so that pay-per-view, I did want to get it right, so I looked it up. It's What Culture. They do a lot of funny YouTube videos. It's What Culture Pro Wrestling. I didn't even know they had a Fed.
Yep.
It's the Refuse to Lose live on IPTV tonight. Looks like Kurt Angle, Jim Ross. So that company looks like they had was that out where Alberto Del Rio went?
It was, yes.
Okay.
And also Jay Lethal.
That's right. Okay, so they got their event with Kurt Angle tonight. I might look that up.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Did that already air? I'll check it out either way.
It's possible.
When did did you ever see when Kurt Angle was, they did that Roy Jones Jr., the boxer, fought a fan, and Kurt Angle fought Rey Mysterio? Did you ever see that in the headlines? Jim Ross announced it with Rampage Jackson. Anyway, that was out in Phoenix. We got to sit like fourth row for that. It was so cool.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that, yeah. Yeah. The
coolest part, though, I mean, it was sweet seeing Angle wrestle Rey Mysterio, obviously, but seeing Roy Jones Jr. knock someone out from 10 feet away was pretty incredible. That's like Michael Jordan hitting a buzzer beater.
Well, and since you brought up What Culture, I'll say I don't know who is actually financially backing them, or if they actually made or have made that much money to be able to bankroll the type of company that they have, because
I feel like that money's got to be coming from somewhere.
Kurt Angle and Jim Ross and Del Rio, and Lethal may not be on the same level, but he was world champion for probably way over a year in Ring of Honor. So like the big names coming out to there, somebody's got to be, or they must have a lot of good money to be able to.
Cheap.
Yeah, that's basically what I'm getting at, and I guess props to them for living up to their holding up their end of the bargain, because if they're going to critique it, they gotta put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, and any competition's good for the WWE, because it's all it does. The one who benefits the most out of the competition is us, as fans.
That's true. It
brings the product up for everybody.
And I will also say, for anybody wondering what culture pro wrestling is in the United Kingdom, and just another reason why the UK is going through a wrestling golden age right now, with all the talent and all the companies succeeding in that area. So
that's a good point, especially with the cruiserweight.
Yeah, exactly.
Cruiserweight championship.
Just look at all the talent that's come from that area, especially recently with Marty Scurll and Zack Sabre and Will Ospreay and
shout out to Vader for his
Tommy End.
Did he end up winning that match?
Vader did end up winning that match.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just the idea that the 21-year-old, I believe 21-year-old Will Ospreay stepped in the ring with Vader.
I thought that was sweet, man. They nailed that marketing. It was all over the internet, so it's why not capitalize on it?
And the company ended up selling out for the event.
Yeah. Hey, I would have bought a ticket.
Well, it was over in Scotland, if I'm correct, or at least over in the UK.
Yeah, if I was there, I'd have bought
somewhere. So now we move to the question of the week. And one thing that we didn't really cover much in when we talked about it is, of all the rumored companies that were in the running to I'm going to change up this question a little bit.
Sure.
Instead of picking a rumored company, if you could either pick a name, or you could just say what you would do with the company, or you could do both. But as far as TNA goes, like I said, either you could pick a name, like who you would like to buy it, whether it's a company or a specific person, or you could just say what you would like to do, what you would do with it, or either, both. It's up to you. So money not being an issue if I just throw a name out. Mm-hmm.
So if all the money in the world they had, I want Eric Bischoff buying TNA. Pipe bomb. Wrestling Express pipe bomb.
Mr. Bischoff, if you're listening.
Yeah, right. Call Uncle Ted. Get you some of that WCW fuck money. And buy TNA.
Not that it'll make a difference having two marks back you up, but we'll be right there ready. We'll be right there ready, waiting with a pen and paper.
Marks know the storyline. Marks know what the fans want. I'm a mark for life, brother.
The fans don't even know what the fans want.
Well, that's the sheep fans. They need to be told what they like.
Yeah. Or the fans that think that they know what they want, but they don't know what they want because they'll change. Just like that.
Exactly. Because they're sheep, brother. I'm just saying, cheer for Roman Reigns, people.
Now we'll turn the coin. If Dixie Carter called you tomorrow and said, "Come to TNA, we need to fix the company," what would you do? Would you accept the offer, and would you come to TNA? How would you fix TNA?
Well, if Dixie Carter's calling me on the phone tomorrow, I'm doing whatever she asks me. But what would I do to change the company, man? I would get a working relationship with Triple H and Vince's money and get that ECW feeder system going like WWE and ECW had when ECW did that invasion. Yeah. Just for the sake of keeping them afloat, but buying that wisdom from them. I'm sure there was so much Paul Heyman learned having that relationship with Vince McMahon back then. So that's where I would go with it.
Yeah.
Because then you're holding on to owning it still, but you're trying to get a bone thrown your way from the big boys while offering whatever you can to them, which is talent.
That's true.
And maybe that's what they're doing, with the library being there and everything.
That's true. Yeah, Paul learned if you can't do it yourself, go to somebody with money and he'll help you.
Exactly. That's what WCW was successful.
Yeah.
Money.
Yeah.
He didn't know wrestling, he just bought it.
Well, I mean, he knew enough to stay out of it. Let's put it that way.
Fair enough.
And I mean, if I had to say, I would probably say that you put it like this. You tell Dixie, let's have a talent meeting. And I want the veterans. I want Matt Hardy. I want Jeff Hardy. I want Kurt Angle here. And I want them telling me who they want to feud with and who they want to put over to establish new talent. Not Ethan Carter. Not the people who are already there. New talent. And how they're going to work with the guys.
You gotta be careful letting the inmates run the asylum, because that's what ran WCW down.
No, just the veterans. Well, actually, scratch that. Kurt Angle's not with the company anymore.
Hogan and Flair and Sullivan.
Shows how much I know. Kurt Angle's not with the company anymore.
No, I'm talking... Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying you would bring him in.
I mean, Kurt did a lot of good for TNA, but I think at this point in his career, he's going back to WWE.
Yeah, kind of that one final run. Thank you, fans.
Yeah.
The circus parade you around America one last time.
Yeah, pretty much.
Deal, and then hats off. Right off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Which would be cool.
Give him the Lex Express back from the museum.
Yep, Lex Express. My goal in life is to do a reality show with Virgil, Marty Jannetty, and myself on the Lex Express. So if anybody out there wants to fund that, hit me up on Twitter at DannyWHH Podcast. That'd be a good reality show, wouldn't it?
It'd definitely be interesting.
With Marty Jannetty and Virgil.
It would definitely be interesting. The next network special.
Mm-hmm.
That is, if WWE still had a good relationship with Virgil and Marty Jannetty.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
We'll work it back in there. Old Hardcore Hundman Wrestling Happy Hour. We'll get him in there.
But I will also cheap plug to the fact that I actually did take an under account with Total Extreme Wrestling 2016, the computer simulation wrestling game, brought to us by Grey Dog Software and Adam Ryland. And I took the book to TNA because I feel like that the company just needs to be stabilized. Did I do it the way I thought I wanted to do it? No. The original plan is, like I mentioned earlier, that I would have taken what Eric Bischoff was going to do with WCW, shut up, get rid of everything, make the company look like was going out of business, like they did with Chikara, back in the day, a few years ago. And then start, take advantage of pop and also take advantage of social media. Run promo packages highlighting the history of TNA, and then suddenly start building up a new company. A new name, a new start, fresh start, no tape library, everything new. You still have pop, you still have the international TV deals, and you have social media. Yes, they use it for explosion, but they could use it to build up the return of the company. So, and that's what I would have done. And also, you bring back the pay-per-view schedule. If you don't want to do 12 pay-per-views a month, fine. 12 pay-per-views a year, rather. Fine. Do 6. Or do 4, like NXT.
Yeah, because that's the... yeah. Because those companies I'm not watching NXT. I try to, I stay up on the storylines as much as I can. But I never miss the pay-per-views. If those pay-per-views were every month, I don't know that I'd watch all of them.
Exactly.
The fact that they're 4, I make a point to not make plans on Saturday, or, one that usually airs on that Saturday night. And I love how they do it on big weekend, too.
Exactly. That's true. And it also gives more time to build up the feuds. But the feuds are building to something, unless you're going to do a big show. But then the show should have the ratings. And if the show doesn't have the ratings, then put it on pay-per-view so you can have a source of income. Or even iPay-per-view if no pay-per-view provider is going to put you on.
Yeah, I think iPay-per-views is going to keep these indie feds alive.
Yeah, I mean, if independent companies can go on iPay-per-view, why can't TNA and they have national TV? Or why can't they do it on the TNA on ImpactWrestling.com or something like that, like Ring of Honor does?
Yeah.
And they probably have a better website than Ring of Honor. No offense to Ring of Honor.
TNA used to do that or no?
They used to have their own on-demand service on. It wasn't where it was before. It wasn't where new content came up. It was like WWE Classics, but it was on online.
Okay.
It was just historical content. Then they moved the historical content to YouTube and killed the site.
Do you remember when? Yeah. Do you remember when TNA first started and it was like Wednesday night $7.99 pay-per-views?
Yep.
I remember ordering a couple of those. I loved it.
Me too.
But you could, it was expensive as hell to follow the product.
That's true.
It was literally like $8 a week.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They were making $8 a week. That's,
iHeart's gonna pay for it.
Yeah. But that's $32 a month for one person.
Which is the equivalent of a pay-per-view back then.
That's $32 a month for one person, and that's a stream of revenue. That's a stream of income. I never did understand why TNA doesn't.
They're going to pay $32 and they can have it for $9.99, and if they could get it for $14.99 with this new tier and have the TNA access on there,
that's true.
That would be huge.
But that's also why I never understood why TNA doesn't have merchandising, or doesn't have as much merchandising. Because they should have the merchandising.
Yeah.
More revenue, more money. That's why you can tell if somebody's going to get pushed or somebody's going to get a new merchandise when Vince is trying to get a catchphrase for them or a nickname to get him a T-shirt.
But there's a lot more money behind WWE being. Now, listen, I know TNA and Dixie Carter and her family have a lot of money, but there's their business money, so they're not gonna. If something's bleeding out and dying.
Yeah, I know now, but. In 2007 and 2008, when they had the highest rated pay-per-view, the most bought pay-per-view in the history of the company, which, by the way, when you have one good pay-per-view, how do you not continue the momentum?
Yeah.
But that was...
in the heyday, it's a different game, because they did have access to that money, and we kind of talked about that on the Wrestling Happy Hour.
Back then, there's no reason why they shouldn't have, they could have spent the money on merchandising for talent like Jay Lethal and talent like other X Division stars like Kazarian and all those guys that were there, instead of spending the money on the Nasty Boys, the New World Order, and, Sean Morley.
Oh, fuck, man. Those are my 3 favorites. That's why I started watching. I went to the lockdown because they had. I bought into TNA back in the day because of that WCW move they did. Because I was like, oh, I know the Outsiders. I'll go see what they're doing for a while.
Oh no, I'm not saying back in when they came in as the Kings of Wrestling with Jeff Jarrett the first time. I'm saying when they came back with Hogan and Bischoff.
Okay.
Which Hogan and Bischoff was a mistake too because they couldn't afford him.
Yeah. Didn't he have a cut of it at the time, though, too?
I wouldn't be surprised if Hogan got a cut at it.
Yeah, I thought he was holding back that a little bit.
I wouldn't be surprised. But then, with now he could.
I hate to get off subject. You think he's going to be at WrestleMania, though? Hogan?
I think eventually the WWE should be able to mend the fence. But as far as when, who knows? If they can mend the fence with Bruno, if they can, mend the fence with Lanny Poffo, then, Warrior, Bret Hart, if they can mend the fence with those guys, then I don't know why they couldn't mend the fence with other people too.
Yeah. I think it'll be sooner than later. I think NWO goes in this year to the Hall of Fame. That's my bold prediction. That's my Wrestling Happy Hour prediction on the Wrestling Express.
That would be good because that would give an excuse to put people like that's when it needs to be Hall, Nash, and Hogan. It can't be Hall, Nash, Hogan, Giant, right, Scott Norton,
exactly.
Buff Bagwell.
Be those 3.
Rick Rude and Disco Inferno and Kurt Hennig. And
no, they're not going down that road. If I were putting them in, it'd be those 3. It puts Hogan as a bad guy gimmick. It eases him in a little bit under the radar during Mania weekend because it's Saturday night,
Mm-hmm.
It gets him in front of the fans on Sunday. He doesn't even have to talk. He's just there.
Yeah. Well, and it also gives him a cheap headline.
Exactly.
So they don't have to waste another headliner.
It's in Florida where he lives. He's been posting a lot of WWE storyline stuff lately. I just think it's going to be coming sooner than we think. So that's my bold prediction.
Well, as far as WrestleMania goes, since you brought it up, with the fact that in my opinion, yes, I know they weren't the head. Oh, Sting was the headliner last year. With the fact that Sting was the headliner, and then you had the Freebirds with the first, big faction going in a while. Who two questions. Who's the headliner? And do you have another home-based guy, meaning a Florida-based guy, get inducted this year too?
Good question. So my headliner's NWO. I'm going with that. And, Florida wrestling. Okay. I don't have a hometowner, but I also think the second guy, how you mentioned Sting and the Freebirds, so I'm going 2. I'm going NWO and Hillbilly Jim.
Huh.
And plus that'll kind of give the home rub with Hogan, so that kind of does that. But I think it's time for Hillbilly Jim.
I could actually agree with that. I think Hillbilly Jim.
The guy was right there in the rock and wrestling era.
I think he deserves it.
We met him. We gave him a ride, actually, to his hotel. We were in San Jose. We were at WrestleCon. He needed a ride, so Chris and I and Shot Girl Amber from Wrestling Happy Hour picked him up and took him to the hotel. He was such a good dude. And we, I got a picture with him and all that, and I got my picture up at my office. And people walking by, they'll be like, oh, I remember Hillbilly Jim. He's one of those guys, people who didn't really watch wrestling even remembered because it was so big right during that era.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a perfect one to add in the Hall.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So we'll see, though.
And do you think that next year is when they start adding matches to the Hall of Fame, inducting specific matches into the Hall of Fame.
Oh no, there's an idea I hadn't heard. Is that kind of being rumored?
If I remember correctly, it was rumored partly because of the fact that they were thinking about a physical Hall of Fame.
Doing what?
Doing the physical Hall of Fame.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Which they thought about doing in Orlando, so yeah, that would make sense. Let me ask you this, if that's the case, what match do they put in first?
In my opinion, I'd probably go with... Well, logically, I'd go with Hogan and Andre. But in my opinion, because of the fact you're in Florida, I'd go with Dusty when Dusty turned babyface.
Nice. That's a good one.
And did his American Dream promo.
So, that Andre Hulk thing brings up another possible way to bring Hogan in. And say NWO doesn't get inducted, right? And they do this first match thing. That's a way to get Hogan in, kind of under the radar. Do the Hogan Andre.
That would be true, but I mean,
it just depends on how they want to go with it. Because if they want to do a Florida one, that would be a good one.
Yeah, that's. I agree. I agree completely. But I mean, the question is, how many people actually remember why Hogan left? And how many people still care about it?
About Hulk Hogan?
No, about Hulk Hogan getting fired for his racist remarks.
I think a lot of people care about that.
But it's not as, like, big news, and it's not as, you know...
Right, it's under the radar now, is the point.
Yeah.
And it's separated. Time heals all wounds, to an extent, so...
Exactly.
It's not like he should have waited to make his apologies later on, let it heal a little bit, own up to it a little bit more than he did, but...
Yeah.
I mean, in this day and age, those things pass headlines so quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Thing is, now he probably doesn't need the money at all, because he's got the Gawker money.
Good point.
But I think he also felt so bad about what he did that he wants that conversation within the WWE family of fans, the universe, as opposed to being on ABC News or whatever.
Yeah, and I think he just wants to get back to WWE. Just to have the contract, not to have the money.
Yeah.
And as, just as far as what, the giving my take on the Hall of Fame, I think it's time for Rick Rude to go in.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as a headliner, it's tough.
I'd have to see a list of who's not in.
Yeah, that's true.
Some of those older names I'm not.
Well, and I'll take it back, and I'll say Piper and Orndorff versus Hogan and Mr. T could also be the first match that gets inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But they need a physical Hall of Fame building to start inducting matches first.
Why do you think so?
Because then they can have a wing of the Hall of Fame with, just statues of the guys.
Yeah.
Instead of just having pictures or plaques.
Like that, like they do at Access.
Yeah, like they have, statues of Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful face to face with Hogan and Mr. T as, the WrestleMania 1 first inductee, first match induction,
I think they like having it traveling, though, because then you can bring it next year.
Well,
because these Access, they have like everything. That's what I'm saying. You got to get to a WrestleMania event, brother. They're amazing.
Oh, but they have a warehouse full. They have a warehouse full of old merchandise.
Yeah. Hey, did you happen to see that Holy Foley where they took him to that that warehouse?
I did.
That was cool. He broke down when he saw that Hell in a Cell, didn't he?
Yeah.
But,
I mean, honestly, I can't think of a headliner to. I mean, without seeing the a list of who's not in, like big name wise, I wouldn't be able to say who should be in.
That's why I'm going with NWO.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I could agree with the NWO. I like the idea of inducting a stable. Again.
Because we had, Horseman at 28.
Yeah.
And then we had Freebirds. DX hasn't gone in, have they?
No.
No. So they could do them 1 year. What about this one? Vince McMahon.
I don't think Vince goes in until he, passes away or at least steps down from the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. If you want to talk hometown boy, I pulled up a list. This would be perfect. Unless they want to wait. Because he might still do matches, but The Rock.
That's true. They could induct him. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of him. Well, now, to, further the talk, and, it's probably going to be talk once the Hall of Fame class comes in, but, we'll change it up. I'm sure people will change it up. But how about finish the class? Who do you think gets inducted next year?
So we got NWO. How many we got?
I know there's usually more, but how about name 6?
Okay. So I'm gonna go NWO. Does that count as 1?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Owen Hart.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. Well, I'll take yours, so I'll go Rick Rude. I'm gonna take Owen off. Let me take Owen off. Rick Rude, NWO, Davey Boy Smith, because I don't want to do it all post-humanist. Man, who else? Daniel Bryan.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan. Oh, I'm going to do like a double kind of main event thing. I'm going Kurt Angle.
That's...
Because then that brings a reason to bring him in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Really, I don't know any of the others. I know, like, Bruiser Brody's not on there. Jericho would be another one.
Yeah.
Kane. Owen. Paul Heyman.
What about Mark Henry?
Mark Henry. That'd be a great one. I think he deserves it.
Yeah. Because it's
still there, though, so...
Well, no, he's retired. He's done.
Is he officially done?
Yep. He's moving into the office.
Okay.
Him and Big Show are moving into the office.
Be more for the modern fans a little bit, and throw back to our generation more so.
Yep, I agree.
So that's what I do.
Well, now a question. Is Minnesota still in the running for a future WrestleMania?
It's gotta be. My sister went to the Monday Night Football game there on last Monday, and she just said it was amazing. I heard Orlando wanted to do back-to-back, but I think they're going to throw a bone to Minneapolis.
So I will say hold off Owen until Minneapolis, because you want to get closest to Canada that you can.
True.
Because then you're going to have a lot of Canadians coming down for the Hall of Fame ceremony.
Yeah, so I think Davey Boy and Owen going together then.
Yeah. And I also think, if you put in the Hart Foundation, that's how you get past putting in Owen.
True.
Because you say, no, Owen's not going in, the stable's going in.
Very true. Yeah, that's good. Because there could be a lot of arguments that Owen doesn't deserve it.
No, he deserves it because of what happened.
Yeah, but if that didn't happen, does he deserve it?
He would have been world champion if it didn't happen. Or no.
He was never world champion.
Well, yeah, he was going to retire soon. But I think he would have helped the company a lot as an ambassador and just a trainer.
But that doesn't make you Hall of Fame.
If Vince McMahon's driver could get inducted in the Hall of Fame, then yes, Owen Hart deserves to be inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, alright, you can go that way.
And if Coco Beware's in the Hall of Fame, Owen Hart deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Coco Beware, too, is another household name like Hillbilly Jim.
I get that, but in terms of, credibility and championship belts and just, like, from a different era, Owen accomplished more than Coco.
In ring.
Yeah. I get what the character is. He's known because of his character, but Owen, he's known for his in-ring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two different beasts.
Or even you induct his match with Brett from either WrestleMania or SummerSlam.
Yeah.
From 94.
So get Hogan in with a match and get Owen in with a match.
Exactly. Tell Martha to go, I'm going to leave it there.
You're right.
Well, as far as what I think, I'm going to go with The Rock as the headliner.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go less and say that the Hart Foundation, not the Hart Foundation, maybe DX go in because of China. The DX would go in this year.
Great way to get China in. See the. Yeah.
And she doesn't even have to be there.
Exactly. Yeah, she ain't gonna be there. That's for sure.
Yeah. And anyone think that's offensive? It's because they wouldn't invite her to begin with.
Yeah.
Even if they inducted her, she wouldn't be there because they wouldn't invite her.
Yeah. If anyone's offended by that, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
We love China. China was one of my favorites.
Then we go Rick Rude. Like I said, and I think we both agreed that the Hart Foundation, either Owen, Brian Pillman, whatever, all of them go in when they go to Minnesota.
Pillman's another good one.
And then, I'd probably go with, just as an excuse to get Shawn Michaels on the stage, have him induct Jose Lothario, if Jose's not in the Hall of Fame yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he is or not.
But just to get Shawn Michaels there, and just to get it done before, Jose... I'm pretty sure Jose's still alive, but if Jose... Just get him there before, And... Wow, you're right, this is hard.
Ivan Koloff. Is he in?
I'm pretty sure he's in, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna... Is Baron von Raschke in?
That's a good question. Do this all day. We better wrap her up.
No. No, if anything, you hold him off to Minnesota because he was in AWA. Let's go with what's his name?
Virgil.
Let's go with Dick the Bruiser. If Dick the Bruiser, Dick the Bruiser. Well, for argument's sake, let's say Dick the Bruiser's not in the Hall of Fame. Dick the Bruiser.
Okay. That's a good one.
And I don't know. What's it? Just to make it where it's not all posthumously inducted. The Godfather. Oh no, the Godfather went in this year.
Yeah, he went in.
Was
Batista. He might be another. Ivan Koloff's not in.
Ivan Koloff.
Yep.
Ivan Koloff, and let's replace what's his name? Dick the Bruiser with pick a gimmick. Hillbilly Jim.
Stealing mine? What about Doink the Clown? It's clown season. They're out here killing folks, stealing candy on Halloween and shit.
Well, in my opinion, just honor the gimmicks, Yep.
Honor the gimmicks. Do the gimmick wing.
Yeah. Either Hillbilly Jim or...
Series, Egg.
Or, I don't know, Val Venus, maybe.
Brawler. Yeah, shout out to Val Venus.
The Brooklyn Brawler, definitely. Put in the Brawler. Steve Lombardi deserves it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I know he's going to be at WrestleCon this year, so maybe.
Yeah, put the Brooklyn Brawler in the Hall of Fame. He deserves it.
He hasn't been in the last two, let me see. We've gone to the last two WrestleCons, and he wasn't there, and he's there this year, so maybe he'll be in Orlando.
So, I mean, it might make sense to hold them off until, they're back in New York, but if they don't want to do that, then, put him in this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, put him in this year, because he deserves it. Honor the gimmicks. Well, now we've hit the point of the show where if you want to hype anything up, or shout, give where people can find you and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Chris Platt and Big John Brott, my co-hosts at Wrestling Happy Hour podcast. If you look up on iTunes, we're Wrestling Happy Hour podcast. Our website is thewrestlinghappyhour.wordpress.com. So it's thewrestlinghappyhour.wordpress.com. My Twitter's at Danny, DANNY, WHH for Wrestling Happy Hour podcast. So at Danny WHH podcast. We're on Facebook as Wrestling Happy Hour, so just search us on there. Instagram is just Wrestling Happy Hour, one word. SoundCloud, we're on SoundCloud. We're on Spreaker. We're on all those. So check us out, Wrestling Happy Hour podcast. The Twitter, hit us up on Twitter, though, at Danny WHH podcast. And if you want to email us any questions or anything, it's thewrestlinghappyhour@gmail.com. So the main site's thewrestlinghappyhour.wordpress.com.
And I will be sure to put some links into the description of the video when I post it on YouTube.
Cool, man.
So, with that being said, if you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. And Danny, thank you for joining me for episode 6 of Express Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me. Cheers to them beers, brother. Till next time.
Yep.